Takamichi frustrates fans. He cries, he panics, he gets beaten, he fails again and again. He gets thrown into situations he can't control, against people stronger than him, smarter than him, and colder than him. And because of that, a lot of viewers make the same mistake. He's weak. But Takamichi is not weak. He's something much rarer. He is one of the clearest portraits in anime of what it means to keep going when you're not built like the hero people expect. He's not the fantasy of effortless strength. He's the reality of painful resistance. And that is exactly why Albert Camus is the philosopher that fits him best. Because Camus understood something most people spend their whole lives trying to avoid. Life does not always become fair just because you care. It does not always reward courage on schedule. It does not always make meaning obvious. Sometimes life becomes a hill you keep climbing, fully aware that it may break your heart again tomorrow. Camus wrote, "The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart." That line is the key to Takamichi, because Takamichi is not inspiring because he wins cleanly. He's inspiring because he keeps returning to the struggle. That's what people miss when they judge him only by surface level power. They're watching for dominance. But Tokyo Revengers is not really about dominance. It is about responsibility. It's about guilt. It's about regret. The agony of wanting to save people when you know you may not be enough. Takamichi doesn't move forward because he feels ready. He moves because he can't live with what happens if he does nothing. That's a very different kind of courage. And in real life, it's often the most important kind. Most people think courage means certainty. They think courage means looking calm, powerful, composed, maybe even impressive. But that's not courage. Not always. Sometimes courage looks like shaking hands. Sometimes it looks like tears. Sometimes it looks like your voice cracking while you still say, "I'm going anyway." That is Takamichi. He doesn't become meaningful because fear disappears. He becomes meaningful because fear fails to stop him. And that is where Camus becomes more than just a clever comparison. Camus believed that even in an absurd world, a world where pain repeats, where logic does not always save you, where good intentions do not guarantee good outcomes, a person can still create dignity through refusal. Refusal to surrender. Refusal to become indifferent. Refusal to stop climbing. Takamichi is the embodiment of that refusal. He's not the strongest in the room, but he may be the hardest to spiritually remove from the fight. And that matters way more than people think. Because in the real world, most people aren't losing because they lack potential. They're losing because they can't emotionally survive repeated disappointment. They try once, twice, maybe a third time. And then the pain of not becoming who they imagined becomes too humiliating to bear. So they detach. They become ironic. They stop caring loudly, and then they stop caring quietly. Takamichi does the opposite. He keeps caring. That's his superpower. He keeps caring after failure. He keeps caring after humiliation. He keeps caring after fear has already made its case. That is why he is stronger than he looks. Not because he overpowers everyone around him, because he absorbs emotional punishment and still chooses love, loyalty, and effort. A lot of anime heroes are aspirational because they make you want to feel powerful. Takamichi is different. He makes you feel seen if you've ever been the person who had to try again while looking unimpressive. If you've ever been the one who knew you were not the most gifted person in the room. If you've ever watched stronger personalities take control while you wondered whether you had enough in you to matter. If you've ever felt behind, embarrassed, late to your own life. Takamichi hits hard because he lives there too. He's not the fantasy of already being enough. He's the fight to become enough under pressure. Now, Albert Camus would understand that because Camus did not promise people that the world would explain itself. He did not say suffering comes wrapped in neat meaning. He said something more useful. Even when life refuses to become clean, your struggle can still have worth, can still have dignity. That is one of the deepest reasons Tokyo Revengers works. Under the gangs, the fights, the intensity, and the time travel tension, there's a deeply human fear at the center of the story. What if I get another chance and I still fail? That fear destroys people because most people think they want another chance. But another chance is terrifying. Another chance means responsibility comes back. Another chance means regret becomes active again. Another chance means you can no longer hide behind it's too late. Takamichi accepts that terror. Not perfectly, not smoothly, but honestly. And that honesty is part of what makes him powerful. He's not cool in the traditional sense. He does not float above the pain. He feels all of it. And then he moves anyway. That may be the most adult lesson in his character. Now that you can become faithful to what matters even while afraid. And in a strange way, that's more difficult than becoming fearless. Fearless people never have to negotiate with their nerves. The truly brave do. The truly brave hear all the reasons to quit and still choose a direction. That is Takamichi's psychology. He doesn't conquer fear, he outvotes it. Again and again. There's another reason that this character matters. He reminds us that emotional resilience is not always loud, it's not always cinematic in the obvious way. Sometimes resilience is simply the ability to return to the same painful mission without becoming numb or cruel. And that is where some people misunderstand stories like this. They think if the hero is not immediately dominant, the hero is somehow lesser. But there are two kinds of heroes. There are heroes who impose force, and there are heroes who preserve meaning. Takamichi belongs to the second kind. He fights to prevent the people he loves from being swallowed by chaos and bad choices, violence and regret. That's not a small ambition. That's one of the most human ambitions imaginable. Camus believed revolt was a form of dignity. Not rage for its own sake, not destruction for its own sake, but the decision to stand up against despair, even when despair can make a very intelligent argument. He stands up against despair not once, but repeatedly. And that's why he feels so emotionally honest, because a lot of us are not trying to become the strongest person alive. We are trying to become the kind of person who does not abandon what matters when life becomes painful. That's what makes this character bigger than his image, bigger than memes, bigger than the surface criticisms. He represents the person who keeps showing up emotionally when showing up emotionally is expensive. There's a kind of man the internet often glorifies. Always calm, always composed, always dominant, always winning. But real life is not lived at that angle. A lot of real courage looks awful. A lot of loyalty looks messy. A lot of integrity looks like coming back bruised and trying again before you feel ready. Takamichi is important because he gives dignity back to that kind of courage, the ugly kind, the emotional kind, the kind that does not always look impressive in the moment, but changes lives over time. So yes, he cries, he panics, yes, he gets hurt, but none of that disproves his strength, it proves the price of it. Strength is not the absence of pain. Strength is not the absence of fear. Strength is not a perfect performance. Strength is choosing to act while pain, fear, and uncertainty are all still in the room. That is why Takamichi is stronger than he looks, because his power is not dominance, it's defiance. His power is not invulnerability, it's return. His power is not superiority, it's devotion under pressure. And maybe that's why he stays with people. Because most of us don't need another fantasy of being untouchable. We need proof that being scared does not disqualify us from being brave. We need proof that failing does not disqualify us from trying again. We need proof that caring deeply is not weakness, even when the world punishes it. Albert Camus gives us the language. Takamichi gives us the image. The struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. And Takamichi, well, he just keeps climbing. That's why he matters.